Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from my side. This is once again Professor Dr. Huma Shah in front of you all, and welcome to the World Eye Club. So, ladies and gentlemen, especially my audience, my followers, and the listeners, fellow advocate for a sustainable future. It's my honor to welcome you all to today's global talk on sustainable action, focused on SDG 13, climate action. We gathered at a critical juncture in human history where the imperative to address climate change has never been more pressing. Rising the temperature, natural disasters, and devastating impacts on ecosystem and communities worldwide demand our collective action. Yes, because what we are gathering now, that we need an action. We need to take an action. We should stop doing discussion and we have to start implementation. So, I am highly privileged to introduce our esteemed speaker, Professor Dr. Jelena from the Republic of Syria, and renowned for her groundbreaking research and tireless advocacy on the climate resilience and sustainable development. Her expertise spans climate policy, environment governance, and community led initiatives as well. Professor Dr. Janila insights will undoubtedly inspire and empower us today to accelerate our efforts towards a more sustainable and climate resilient world. Yes. Her presence today is a testament of the global nature of this challenge and the importance of collaboration across the borders. And you know what? When we talk about SDG 13, that is the climate action, that we will discuss innovative solutions, share the best practices, and we try our level best to highlight the urgent need for collective action. And what we can do together, we can reduce the greenhouse gas emission, we can promote the renewable energy sources, we can also enhance the climate resilience and adaptation, we can support the climate justice as well as equality. So let us harness this opportunity to learn, network, and mobilize. And I invite you all to engage actively. You can ask questions because I'm receiving hundreds of questions in my messenger. So I request you all so that if you can watch the recorded video later on as per your conveniences, so do type your questions and concerns in the comment section so that it will be easier for the speaker as well as for me to approach you as much as I can. So please join me warmly welcoming Professor Dr. Jelena, and let's embark on this crucial conversation driven by a shared commitment to protecting our planet and ensuring a livable future for generations to come. So a warm welcome to you, Professor. How are you? Good evening.
Good evening, dear Excellency, Professor Huma Shah, ladies and gentlemen, eminent scientists, university professors, representative of international organization, guest of honor, dear our student. Thank you very much for the invitation, dear Excellency, guest speaker, and send my warm greetings of the organizer Excellency, Professor Dr. Huma Shah, President Organization Committee, the World A Club Global Present Global Talk and Sustainable Development CDGS. My pick from CGDS is Goal 13 Climate Action. Topic today, interview the impact of global climate change on the reduction of biodiversity. This topic interview is part of the results of the project environmental issue bioeconomy of and analysis and of the possibility of production health safe food in AP Vojvodina region, Republic of Serbia. financing the Ministry of Education, Science and Technological Development on the Republic of Serbia. Humanity has been given a challenge. Face of all for humanity, the role and from that everything come. Climate change is happening due to natural factor and human activity. It especially other biodiversity, agriculture production, and food security. Minorly, normally adapted and endemic species and under extinction. Accordingly, concern over species extinction are warranted is a provide food for all life form and primary health care for more than 16-18% of human globally. Nevertheless, the impact of climate change on biodiversity and food security has been recognized, little explored, compared of the magnitude of the problem globally. Therefore, the objective of this my lecture in interview are to identify, appraise, and synthesize of the link between climate change, biodiversity, and food security. Data, climatic models, emission, migration, and extinction scenario, and output from previous publication were used. When an elemental variation occur on the time scale shorter than the life of the plant, and response could be in term of plastic phenotype. However, phenotype plasticity could buffer species against long-term effect of climate change. Furthermore, climate change affects food security, particularly in communities and locations that depend on rain-fed agriculture. Crops and plants have threshold behind which growth and yield are compromised. Accordingly, agriculture yields in Africa alone could be declined by more than 13% in 2015. Therefore, solving food shortage through bringing extra land into an agriculture, exploring new fish stocks is a costly solution when protection biodiversity is given priority. Therefore, mitigating food waste components food ensure poor conserving biodiversity, effective use of genetic resource and traditional ecological knowledge could decrease future biodiversity loss and meet food security under climate change scenario. However, achieving food security under such scenario requires strong policy, realizing high yielding, stress resistance, variety development, climate resilience in mitigation, structure, and agriculture. Important for biodiversity, climate change, adaptation, conservation, ecosystem, extinction, climate change, wealth relative. The project studies the following fragment relevant of these work packages. State, state of global biodiversity, impact of climate change on biodiversity, climate change driven species, rank shifts, climate change driven migration, gene flow, and habitat fragmentation, effects of climate change on food security, challenges and option of feeding the future in changing climate and biodiversity, loss, accumulation, adaptation, and mitigation measure of changing climate, recommendation on global impact of climate change on biodiversity and extinction. Climate is defined as the average weather condition characterized a long-term statistic for the meteorological elements in a given area, while climate change abbreviation CC is described as the change in the climate of an area is a result of anthropogenic and natural disorders such as the depletion of the ozone layer and the greenhouse effects. It may result from factors such as changes in solar emission, long-term changes in the Earth or orbital elements, electricity, obligatory of the ecliptic, the procession of the equation, natural processes and human forcing in the planets. True, CC is due alternation uh, in external forcing, natural factor or human activities. Future projection consider the influence of falling anthropogenic increase in greenhouse gas and other human related factors. For the 20 and 21st century expressed the strongest warming trend in the last millennium, with average temperature rising by about 0.6 Celsius. However, future temperature rise are likely to extend this with a predicted rise of between 0.1 and 2 Celsius per decade. Biodiversity, agriculture, production, and food security are predicate to alter, expressly in response to a change future climate globally. According to the movement of plants to higher elevation and latitude from the climate to which they are adapted among the predicate consequence of CC. There is now considerable evidence that such changes in plant distribution are occurring. As species move toward higher latitude and altitude, population at the leading edge at the species range are expected to expand and occupy new territory. This resulted in a reduction of population sizes and extinction at the construction age for those species where geographical limits are described by climate poor reproduction and survival of the polypod and upper altitudinal limits of distribution are likely and to be augmented by increasing temperatures. At the equatorial and lower altitudinal limit in this range, a species may replace through competitive exclusion, most likely influenced by both water ability and higher temperature. However, changes on climatic condition are likely to differ between continental and oceanic environmental possibility, leading to a lack of range, expansion, and reduction. CC has the potential to reduce species that are unable to track the climate which they are currently adapted and resulted extinction risk. However, the realized effect will differ greatly between different species. Consequently, the formation of novel community in response to climate change has been observed. These communities are believed to result from differential migration rate uh, during the post climate change scenario. based on the similarity of species relationship with the changing climate in their past and present distribution is been suggested then adaptation has played and the present distributions it has been suggested that adaptation has played only a minor role in the response of species. However, the frequent distributions, differentiation of population with respect to climate demonstration that climate exert strong selectivity pressure on nature population. CC affects species and ecosystems, composition and function, both directly, increasing in temperature and changes in participation, water temperature, and sea level, and indirectly change the intensity and frequency of wildfires. These species in both terrestrial and marine ecosystem are vulnerable to climate change and the out in their present areas and colonize new sites. At a changing climate in the future there will be distribution of natural community and extinction of species. Specific example in the world, high diversity ecosystem in Malaysian islands that has most the diverse terrestrial ecosystem on the planet and container haven of the world species of coral have been vulnerable to a changing climate habitat degradation, fragmentation, and losses in the past 15 years. Species have shown modification in their morphology, physiology, and behavior due to changes in climatic variable. For example, painted turtle grew larger and warmer year and reached sexual maturity posted during one set of years. Furthermore, the body weight of the North American wood rat Neotema sp has declined with increase in temperature over last 8 years. Besides, human red deer, Cernus elephas, Scotland growl faster in warming, spring reading increase adult boy size. Is much problem is climate change in biodiversity. Sustainable development in this regards, the agriculture sector much improve its sustainability reforms and adaptation to impact of climate change uh, in ways that do not comprise global efforts, ensure food security, thus analyzing the impact of climate change on biodiversity and food security based on the global viewpoints as climate change is a global phenomenon that require global attention is helpful. Therefore, the objective, the scientific evidence on the link between CC biodiversity and food security. According to the study, is MA2. 1. Explore the changes and opinion of feeding the future in the changing climate and biodiversity loss scenario. 2. Examine the impact of CC on biodiversity and species around shifts. 3. Explain and investigated an interactive linkage between biodiversity and food. 4. Analyze the threat of, to biodiversity and their impact. 5. Explain the adaptation, the mitigation measure for changing climate. analyzing approach and strategy to mitigate and changing climate, provide ways to reduce biodiversity loss and opinion of feeding a future. This also vital to illustrate to global climate change and its multidimensional impacts on biodiversity and our food security trade via actual scientific evidence. Moreover, the finding of this study are important for tracing, quantitating, and investigating current and predictable CC impact on biodiversity and global food security for policymakers, researchers, and information on the global phenomena, such as CC, biodiversity loss, and important food security all over human population in the world, and the interaction and the linkage among the components are helpful to have global solution or insight. Similarly, this my lecture is made to create a better understanding and communication among the scientific community, researcher, national and international policymaker about link between CC biodiversity and important food security. Besides, is the aim at providing up-to-date scientific evidence on CC impact on biodiversity and food security, and it is adaptation strategy long period. Three, four CC biodiversity loss required to combine concern and intelligence of all national and community. 4. This video lecture data and scientific output from the aforementioned publication were use reinterpretation, viewpoint, the impact of global climate change on biodiversity and food security. Besides climate model, besides scenario, and the mission scenario development previously have has been and been is in biodiversity. State of the global biodiversity. The term biological biodiversity or biodiversity is defined agricultural biodiversity as the change ability between existing creators from the all basis counting inter alia, terrestrial, marine, and other aquatic ecosystems and ecological multiplex of the which part of this comprise variety in species between species and of ecosystem. Life has been on Earth for the last 3.5 billion years. True, we are not sure exactly how many species exist of the Earth right now. The total number of described species is estimated to be 10 million to 1 million 7,000. However, some study indicate that there are 100 million species inhabit and describe the earth. Besides from making to describe, identify, or distinguish a species from another, over explanation and utilization a species from species become a global changes in recent days. Therefore, species extension may place often out nothing their presence or existence. Biodiversity ensure in extensively and non-intensely magnitude ecosystem, respecting agriculture, plantation, forestry, and aquaculture, and pastoral lands, native forest, freshwater, ecosystem, and ocean in both ways provided products such as food, medicines, material, the ecosystem functioning service that essential for life on Earth. Earth and human need and interest cause biodiversity loss. The existence of life predominantly depends of the evaporative power of the atmosphere, along with solar radiation, turbulence, cosmos, carbon dioxide level, ambient temperature, on the availability of water and the inorganic nutrient. However, those important parameters upon which the existence of life depends are affected by human induced and natural factors. Consequently, over the last century, the rapidly expanded human population and economic place, increasing demand on biodiversity resources. On to one half of the world's terrestrial surface has been substantially altered human activity.
Yeah.
What happened human population in the world? What much question for human population? Highly technology, no human, no human, no human biodiversity, carriage, war, etc. Much problem, man. Species existing, but Arctic and Antarctic environment are threatened by pollution, transport thousand or mail through the atmosphere. Thus, man is modifying the function on entire planet, changing the Earth atmosphere through the industrial realize carbon dioxide dramatically change of the Earth's climate and diminishing the ozone layer through the production of chlorocarbons in much problem the future. Biodiversity and food, interactive relation implication, biodiversity ecosystem, and biodiversity critical for survival of the world. Foods. It provide food for human, animal, and life form. Human is a more important thing climate change and variability. The term climate is defined the average weather condition characterized by long-term statistics, typically 3 decades. Mean value, variance, probability of extreme value for the meteorological elements in given area, magnitude in the level. In a special Paswan forest in southern Sumatra, Clamaton and Brazil during recent El Nino events show the importance of the interaction between climate and human action. Oh, tempora omores. Thank you very much for attention. Thank you very much for invitation interview. Very interesting biodiversity survivor, population human. Thank you very much, Dear Excellency Professor Hugh Shah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Excellency. You
Wow,
are
that
a,
was
you are a beautiful professors and high intelligence in special intellectual women in the world. Thank you very much.
I'm so honored to hear this from you. Thank you so very much for the you just killed it. Everything you have explained in a very pointed, brief, descriptive way, and that's really will be helpful and beneficial for all the audience, most definitely. And I do believe that we can take an action by doing. I very much agree with Professor Janila that how we can reduce the energy consumption at our home. We should use the public transport, cycle, or walk. We should support how to renew our energy projects as well. When we talk about the SDGs action, it means that you should educate yourself and others on SDGs as well. It's not just only about discussion, it's not just only about interviews and all the thing, because it's time to take an action. It's time to start implementation. So support organizations, every organizations who are working on SDGs, make sustainable lifestyle choices, do as much as you can, use social media to raise awareness, participate in the citizen science projects as well. I think there is a multiple and number of things you can do if you really want to change something related to SG13. You can use the technology, you can engage in advocacy and activism, you can collaborate with the others to amplify the impact as well. Okay, because if you really want to change something, it's mean that you have to start not from tomorrow, not from today, just from now. This is the right time to take an action. Okay, so that's a wrap. Thank you to our incredible speaker, Professor Janila, and participants, and of course, our listeners who will watch later on, and obviously for making today's program a success. And we are um, highly grateful for your enthusiasm, insights, and commitment to creating a better one. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you at our next program as well, where we will
Yes,
continue
yes,
exploring the innovative solutions and collaborative approaches to address processing a global challenge. Yes?
yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Global science, global research, global support, all, all human population. Three for the future research and innovation, especially artificial intelligence in biodiversity. Very interesting topic next time. That's okay?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
guys. So yeah. So until then, stay engaged and stay inspired and keep working towards a brighter future for all. See you next
Yes.
time. Until then, bye.
Bye. Bye bye. I love you.